Welcome to Meraki Mentors, a podcast featuring women who create. We interview creatives from every field and around the globe to discuss art, risk-taking, and what it means to live a creative life. Here's your host, Candace Howes.
Welcome back, or simply welcome if this is your first episode. I invite you to join our community on social media. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Meraki Mentors Podcast, or on Twitter at Meraki Mentors. You can also find detailed show notes, full transcripts, and helpful resources on our website. Simply visit MerakiMentorsPodcast.com and click Episodes. Thanks for tuning in. From the moment I first saw Shanina Dionna's work, I was absolutely captivated. Her energy, empathy, and talent are undeniable. I immediately sent an email asking to purchase prints, and here we are, a year later, discussing her upcoming exhibition and advocacy for arts education and mental health. Shanina's story is an inspiring one, filled with gratitude, joy, and most importantly, purpose. I walked away from our conversation with a renewed appreciation for the journey of being an artist, motivated to stay the course, remain disciplined, and reminded to spread encouragement throughout the arts community. But that's only scratching the surface. Welcome today to Meraki Mentors Podcast. This is your host, Candace Howes, and today I'm so excited to share our guest with you, who is just a wonderful, talented artist. She is a painter and just an all-around wonderful person. So I know you all will be excited to hear this conversation with her today. So I'm going to welcome Shanina Dionna to the podcast. And first of all, thank you so much for taking some time to speak with us today.
Candace, thank you so much for having me. And hello, Meraki Mentors.
Awesome. It is a kind of a little bit cloudy day today, so it's always nice to kind of have those nice mellow days where you can just kind of relax and talk. And we were just sharing how we both love listening to the rain, and we've had some kind of rainy weather, so it's always nice to kind of have those kind of creative and kind of cool, calm days.
Yeah, it's setting the tone, I think, for our conversation today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to just kind of give you the floor for a moment and just kind of let our listeners know just a little bit about yourself, like what you do as an artist and whatever you'd like to share to start off.
Yeah, all right. So my name is Shanina Dionna. I am a PA based in the greater Philadelphia area, visual and performance artist. Since 2011, my work has served as a platform to help raise mental health awareness via the visual and performing arts. Um, we'll get into that a little bit more later as far as, embryo is concerned. But I'm also a nonprofit youth arts teacher in the West Philly area at the Urban Art Gallery. It's the program is called Art Buds Philly on Instagram, and we cater to youth 8 to 13 years old, teaching them interdisciplinary or introductory skills to drawing, painting, mixed media design. It's an 8-week program that we have there at the Urban Art Gallery, free of charge to the parents, to the students. And we make it a point to just keep art alive in the lives of our youth here in the Philadelphia area. So that's a pretty brief bit about what I do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was actually just in Philly. I want to say maybe about a month ago at an art festival they have there, and it's just so many talented people, and there were so many people in the community that were coming and like passing out like different flyers and things that were happening at galleries. It just seems like such a active arts community there.
Yeah, for sure. we actually, to that point, I have a good friend. His name is Chuck, Uncool Chuck, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that. But he makes it a point to bring together all of the creatives of Philadelphia and surrounding areas to come together, connect, network, and support each other, right? Just to make sure that we
Hmm.
are knowledgeable of the people, of the talent that's around us, because there's a lot of beautiful hidden gems in Pennsylvania, period, in the tri-state area, and I think it's really beautiful that he brings us all together with this pop-up photo, right? He's done it a few years before, and is reminiscent of the A Good Day in Harlem photo. Are you familiar with
Hmm.
that one? Yeah,
Yes.
so that's his spin, right, for the Philadelphia version of that photo. And it's so beautiful to see all of these beautiful creatives, all this beautiful talent, dancers, musicians, artists, visual artists, graphic designers, photographers, you name it, they're there. So, yeah, Philly is booming with a lot of beautiful talent.
That's awesome. It's great. I've always found, like, even as an artist, that the more creative people you're surrounded around or have access to, it just flourishes that entire inspirational side of your brain. Like, it just gets you going. So that's
For
wonderful.
sure.
So, how did you I feel like everyone has, like, a different story when it comes to their art, but how did you kind of first discover that you had a talent or an interest for painting?
Hmm. Well, I can think back as far as ninth grade, or excuse me, 9 years old, in second or third grade, and I we had an assignment to create a short story with illustration, the whole nine. So we had to write a short story, create an illustration to support the short story, and then submit it to our teacher. And I remember being
Mhm.
called out by my teacher, Mrs. Powers, in Jacksonville, Florida. Uh, she enjoyed my project so much, so that she encouraged me to share it with the whole third grade class, not only with my classroom, but the other third grade classes in our school. And I remember at 9 years old just thinking, wow, I did a good enough job, right, to be acknowledged in this way, and share, to the point where they wanted my work to be shared and to be an example for my peers to follow after. So I think that kind of sparked something in me moving forward, especially academically. If I didn't excel in any other subjects, I was going to excel in, language arts, reading, writing,
Mhm.
and visual arts. So I always took that seriously since childhood, and and decided to further pursue that in my adulthood.
That's excellent. And I know that recently, it's definitely paid off, and that you were just a recipient of a grant from the Dean Collection. So tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my goodness. So the Dean Collection 20 Startups Grant is presented by Swiss Beats and Alicia Keys. Their last names, a lot of people don't know, is Dean. So that's where the Dean Collection comes from. Um, and so Swiss Beats made a post back in, I think, May of 2018, and he was looking for 20 artists worldwide to submit an artist business plan uh, and a chance to receive five grand to start to further pursue, further our careers as artists and as creatives and whatever projects that we had coming up. So I didn't see it initially. It was shared with me by my good friend. I call him my beautiful friend, William Classic, of a classic reinvention, a classic reinvention. Yeah, classic reinvention idea. Oh, he's gonna kill me. But classic is his name, and he shared the clip with me. He texted to me, and I took a look at it, and I'd already been filling out other grants applications and already had, a business model pretty much put together. And that was also the model that I had was strongly influenced by a model that was shared with me by another good friend of mine, Garen Gibbs, who's like my business mentor. He stays on me about business and being business savvy because, a lot of artists, that's where we fail. That's where we fall short
That's true.
as creatives. So he's been a really beautiful, influential part of my life as far as business, being business savvy is concerned, and numbers and all of that, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Oh,
so
I feel
so
that.
yeah, Garen's my go-to guy for that. So yeah, but I've over the years I've been tweaking the business model that he shared with me and making it my own, and landing beautiful relationships with that of like the Department of Behavioral Health. They sponsored an embryo show for my first time this year, and Home Depot, they sponsored me with a product sponsorship this year, all from that business proposal model that I had. So I tweaked it a bit more, and I submitted it to the Dean Collection, 5 grand application, and I didn't hear anything for a good, I don't want to say. Oh, and my uncle Jamar, he also shared it with me, and a lot of other people tagged me afterwards. But William Classic was the first person to share it with me,
Mm-hmm.
and so I filled it out, right away within like an hour's time, the same day, and I didn't hear much else outside of that for like a month. And then June 2018, I got an Instagram notification from Swiss Beats saying congratulations with all these trophy emojis. And I was what was I doing? I think I was applying for some other things when I got the notification, and I saw my phone, light up. So you know how we do, we naturally like, oh, what's happening? My phone's glowing. So
Yeah.
I went to my phone and I checked it out, and I dropped down, the Instagram notification, and I saw Swiss Beats, and I saw the comment. I said, huh? I was like, no, no, this can't be. So I went to Instagram, and sure enough, he was in my notifications, and he followed me, and he congratulated me, and he posted all of the winners on his page, and I just stood up and was like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And I was home alone, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And Candace, I just remember shaking and being so full of so much, so full of emotion, so full of
Yes.
gratitude, so full of "Are you sure?" So full of like, "Oh my god!" I was like, I didn't know what to do. I wish I had myself out of myself to pull myself together. was I was flip
Absolutely.
I was flipping out. So I flipped out so much so I didn't know what else to do because I kept saying, "Oh my god, oh my god," and I was screaming. So I'm pretty sure everyone in this apartment building heard me because I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." And so after a while, all I thought to do was drop to the floor, in gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
and just give thanks for for this win because coming from, I live in Coatesville, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour away from our commute from Philly. So I just didn't see it coming. I didn't expect to actually win and be the only person representing Philadelphia, the tri-state area, period, from Coatesville. It was a big, it was a big, it was a really big deal for me, and all I could do was be thankful. I didn't know what else to do. And after I got to pull myself together, I called my parents. I called a few of my really good friends to let them know, oh my goodness, you guys, I won, and so it was a really beautiful day. It was life affirming, because
Mm-hmm.
not too soon before that, or not too long before that, I had a rough couple of weeks actually from March up until May. I was having some difficult times. So it would, I just, um, the storm won't last always. The sun comes in the morning, that kind of thing. It felt
Yeah.
like that. So I was, I was really, I didn't have anything else but gratitude. And I fell to the floor in this apartment by myself, phone in hand, you know, face to the
Yeah.
floor, just laying prostrate before my creator, right? Just being so thankful for this win and this blessing. And when I say life affirming, I mean I was in further encouraged to just keep going, which is what I always
Hmm.
encourage, my peers and myself to do, to keep going. Consistency wins the race. And, no matter what you do, is if you're passionate about it and if you're
Hmm.
consistent, um, things will manifest. The good things will manifest for you, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important to continue to do the work and to stay the course because those affirmations do come in so many different ways. I actually remember um I don't know what I was doing, but I was like scrolling down. I think someone had like reposted the winners, and I remember like seeing your picture. And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I'd
Yeah.
already been like seeing your work, and so it's great to see, in all the different ways that people find those moments of success and being recognized for the work that you're already doing. That's just amazing. So I'm happy for you. Like I can just imagine.
I'm so thankful. Yeah, and thank you. And it only took 7 years, for something to happen for me personally.
Hmm.
I've been doing this work for, it'll be 8 years this coming March, 2019. But it just, seven, being that number of completion, you know what I mean? Being that number of
Yes.
like, you know, here's your due, here's your just dues. You put
Hmm.
in the work and now here you are. And this is just, and I know even with that being said, this is all still the beginning, 7 years in, it's
Exactly.
all still the beginning. So I think it really does pay to be passionate about, and have a love, a real love for what you do.
Hmm.
Because a lot of days, a lot of times, even years, that's going to be the only thing that keeps you going. Even if you don't have a cent that comes your way, if you love it, you keep at it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. What so what and I know as you mentioned earlier and you'll definitely explain to everyone that you have your embryo exhibition series. So is that what you're going to use the grant for or is
Yeah.
it something different?
Yeah, so during in my business proposal that I submitted to the Dean Collection 20 Startups grant, yeah, it was all centered around this embryo art exhibition series, embryo.expos, EXPOS, on Instagram if anyone wants to follow. But it's yeah, all in support of the embryo exhibition series. It's a free exhibition. I like to keep it free, so that the bodies get in the door, and
Mhm.
are exposed to the message and the dialogue and the conversation, and the different ways that you can talk about mental health in our communities. The goal is to get the bodies in the door. If you want to pay for anything, I think I was taught and I had to learn that, pay for the art, let that be out in the world. But I want you
Mhm.
to be able to get in with, with ease. So, but that also, that still takes resources to help make it happen, right? So,
Exactly.
I, yeah, that embryo was kind of the center of my application that I submitted to the Dean Collection 20 Startups grant. And, in hopes to, or in efforts rather, to strengthen the presentation, strengthen the influence that it has on our communities, on the people who show up and experience the exhibition. Um, the goal is to create a safe space, a creative safe space for people to just be exposed to what it means to deal with a mental health issue of any kind, humanize it, right? Destigmatize it, and
Mhm.
open the floor for safe dialogue. No matter what you're personally dealing with, in secret, or maybe even if you're, showing up to support a family member or a friend or a loved one, Um, that's the goal, the sole purpose of having embryo, and it needs the resources to be, um, impactful, in a positive way. I received the my first sponsorship, monetary sponsorship, from the Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disability Services in Philadelphia this year. But my
Mm-hmm.
asking donation or sponsorship was that I got from the Dean Collection later this year, which was very interesting. They gave me
Mm-hmm.
10%. The DBH IDS gave me 10% of what I asked for, and then I got the full amount later. You know, in June. It was things come in full circle, and I think I got it when it was meant to happen. I made
Mm-hmm.
Embryo 7 happen this year off of $500. And now I have, tenfold that for next year, which I'm super grateful for.
Absolutely. That is wonderful. And I will say, especially so for anyone who maybe has not seen Shanina's work before, it's just very beautiful and moving. It has so much harmony within the colors, but it's also very arresting when you think about it emotionally or from the standpoint of mental health. So, where do you, I guess I would say, where do you get kind of your inspiration from, and kind of what visually? I know you've kind of described before that through your painting, you're able to kind of visually express things that you may not be able to say
Yeah,
verbally. So, what is kind of like the goal or that spot of the heart that you're trying to reach when you
yeah.
create these images?
Um, you took my line. Now, so you did your research. I love that. Yeah, so yeah, to your point, I do. I always credit my works to be my brave side, expressing visually what I wouldn't otherwise have the
Mm,
courage to express verbally. And the goal, that spot in your heart. I love that. I love that question too. Um, that spot in your heart. I it starts with me first, and
mhm,
I'm on a mission. I'm on a goal. I'm on a journey rather, to reach this, this transcendent resolve concerning myself. Because for a very long time, I it was a lot of self inflicting, pain and harm and damage, and um,
mhm.
and so now I'm just in the business of seeing myself in another light, in a new light, in a healthier light, and then paying that forward, because I know I'm not alone in that. And
Yes.
so that's really where I want to, help. If I had to choose a place in the heart, I want to uproot those things. I want to uproot, you know, insecurities. I want to help uproot, um, low self-esteem. I want to help uproot suicidal thoughts. I want to help uproot depression. I want to help uproot, unhealthy discord concerning oneself. And if my works, my visual performance works can help that, then that's the goal. And that's what motivates me most to keep going.
It's beautiful, and I love that that is, your driving force, so to speak, because and people say this all the time, but it's so true, is that it's those works of art, whether it's a painting or a book or a song, that you feel can articulate what's going on in your life at any moment that really sticks with you.
Yeah.
And so it's great to have someone who is committed to giving um, a positive visual, but also like a platform to for people to be able to address things that, like you said, are stigmatized and are very difficult for us to sometimes
Yeah.
deal with. But we all have these moments in our lives or periods in our lives, whether we talk about it or not. And sometimes art is just a fantastic way of being able to deal with that and have greater access to be able to say it's okay to address these things and that you can pull through it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you said that, I and the forefront of my mind are our children, our youth.
Mm-hmm.
Art Buds Philly, the youth art program that I helped found, we make it a point to keep art alive, in the lives of our youth. I learned it started actually in part by learning that the inner city public schools in Philadelphia were pulling the arts and culture courses out of the curriculum. And,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, so I'm not Philly born and bred, right? But I've been here, working and connecting and schooling and all of that within the last decade. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm thinking mural capital of our nation, sure enough, art would be immersed in our schools, but it just wasn't so. And they say because, oh, the budget's not there, and which is a whole nother conversation. I'm gonna leave that alone. But
Yes.
and so I'm thinking, it frustrated me because a lot of times, especially with our brown and black boys and girls, the system wants to, suspend them too far behind on their work that they can't even catch up, or they want to write them off with
Mm-hmm.
ADHD and, shove medications down their throats. They want to
Mm-hmm.
do all these other things to try to, relieve an issue maybe that they may be having within the school system. But I'm like, you're taking the very thing away that might actually help them vocalize
Yeah.
what they're dealing with internally. We're talking about youth. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times they're not going to effectively or adequately articulate their feelings to um, a teacher or a parent, but they might with an art teacher. They might through their
Exactly.
creativity. They're impressionable, they're sponges, and they know exactly what they feel, they know exactly what's going on in the world around them. um, and a lot of times art is the only way they have a chance to effectively communicate what it is that they're dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
personally. So yeah, to that point, I think about the youth more than anything, because I think about my childhood and, you know, um, just how important it was for me to stay, like I said, when being acknowledged at 9 years old, that was a big deal for me. And maybe Mrs. Power, she never even knew that. Maybe my parents never knew that, but that was a big deal to me to be acknowledged in
Yeah.
that way, because it encouraged me to keep like, oh, I found something, eureka, I found
Mm-hmm.
something that works for me. It just happens to be art, dancing, poetry, whatever, anything concerning art. I was down to do it. And it's literally helped save my life. Art has helped keep me here. And I trust that it's doing the same for our youth. And so it's important that, with them first, we keep art alive.
It is, absolutely. And I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing and so many people across the states, especially in light of, like you said, so many school boards and just our government in general, just always pulling art or, lessening it in
Yeah.
some way when we know it has a tremendous impact. And especially during those formative years, like so many kids are dealing with so many different things, and now we have the age of social media. There's a lot more that they have to bog them down, and to have anxiety and so many things about. And art is that great healer and that great universal thing that we can all come around to find some type of healing and therapy. And so I think it's just so important and so admirable that you and so many people are doing that work and creating those points of
Yeah.
access outside of schools and outside of traditional
Absolutely.
places because it's very
Absolutely.
needed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, shouts out
Absolutely.
to my peers, my brothers, Christian Sap Sounds. He's the music instructor at the Urban Art Gallery as well, and uh, my good friend Chuck Stiles. He also teaches the visual arts at Art Buds with me. who teaches the program with me there at the Urban Art Gallery. I love them so much. We come together week after week, show up for our students, and it's fulfilling. We love it. We love what we do. They're a
Mm.
good team to work with. Carl, the owner, who started the programs and thought to have them at his gallery. We're all doing our small part to help make a real difference in our community. So I'm truly grateful to be a part of that global community of men and women who are showing up for our youth in the communities at large. I'm so blessed.
So when you, of course, you're working as a teacher, and as an artist, do you do your art full time? And if so, what is that? What is
Yeah.
that like?
um, so yeah, I am a full-time freelance artist and photographer. Actually, a lot of people don't know
Wow.
that. I do not promote that as much, but I've been doing photography for just as long as I've been doing the Embryo exhibition series, um, weddings, portrait photography, birthdays, baby showers, that kind of thing. Um, but what's it like? I think I think it is a moving right along journey. You
Yes.
like I'm starting my day off with this podcast. I have meetings and emails and more photos to edit. I have paintings that I'm working on right now. It's a keep it moving, moving right along journey. But I love
Yes.
it. It's a lot of prioritizing. As an entrepreneur, it takes a lot of discipline and strategy, prioritizing.
Hmm.
You know, um, Making sure that you rid yourself of distractions because a lot of this can be done. I know a lot of times we think 24 hours isn't enough, and I fall victim to that too. I'd say, well, 24 hours is not enough, but it's enough for what we need, for what's needful, I think. And
Hmm.
with in my quest to practicing radical self acceptance and making sure that I make time to for self care. Um, a lot of that, a lot of that plays a big pivotal role in my days as an entrepreneur, as a creative entrepreneur. So, um, but yeah, it's full of garnering and establishing business connections and my goodness, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot that goes into it. But I think what helps is to learn what's needful for your journey, for your business, for your brand, for your goal, for your purpose, whatever that
Mm.
may be. And it starts with that. If you have a clear-eyed view, right, of what you're supposed to do, what your purpose to do, that I trust that everything else falls in place. Like you know exactly who you need to connect with, who you need to network with, who you need to collaborate with, the kind of work you need to produce in order to sustain yourself. Uh,
Hmm.
it's a lot of that, and Candace, I'm in my head a lot of days too. So to try to articulate, try to
Absolutely.
fathom words is a little challenging for me right now. But it's a fulfilling journey, though. I would not have it any other way. I'm thankful that I'm glad that I did stay the course, and I'm in a position where I am making small breakthroughs at this point in my creative career. I'm growing, because I'm a self-taught painter and photographer. Actually went to school for graphic design, got a degree for graphic design, but I am a self-taught painter and photographer, and it so I also make it a point to continually educate myself because a lot of times it takes a lot of that too. There's always room to grow and there's always room to
Hmm.
learn, and I make it a point to read books, read um, uh, TED talks are my favorite thing. Um,
Yes.
Books, TED talks, blogs, and keeping up on the latest and the classics, and just making sure I stay informed. So the books, just to stay sharp and stay. It also helps me stay clear on what it is that I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and how I desire to present it, aesthetically, all of that. I That's what being a full time artist is like. Just thinking about everything, thinking about everything.
Yes. It's like your
Oh
mind
man.
is constantly going. You're like constantly there's never like a quiet moment there. It's something's always happening.
But that's the thing. I make it a point when I going back to self care and radical self acceptance, all of that. I make it a point to try to get some quiet, right? To
Mm.
try to meditate and to try to make sure I stay, to get back centered and stay aligned, because I know me, my mind could take me to from A straight to Z, and I'm not even finished with B, C through, Y yet. So, yeah, it's all about, trying to balance. I don't present myself. That's why I say this often. I don't present myself with, you know, equipped with all of the answers on how to be, an artist, entrepreneur, or how to be a mental health advocate, or a mentor, or, a role model for anyone, because I'm yet learning myself. But, I'm truly grateful to have something to pay forward and to share with, just what I know, that's led me to where I am this far. But yeah, being a full time artist is quite the journey. But I love it. I love it, and I'm inspired by my peers, and which also helps motivate me to keep going, because I see them going, and
Mhm.
you know, I have a really beautiful network of creatives that I can look to um, for inspiration, and positive motivation. So I'm truly thankful for that.
Yes, it's so great to be able to see other people who are, like you said, finding success and creating opportunity for themselves, and to just see this entire cycle. And you mentioned something that is so important and is so intertwined with creativity, being, like you said, self care and self expression. And I'm always inspired because you're so open with sharing. Just creativity in terms of movement. And I know you like
Mm,
to dance and to share that with your online community. And I think it's just so refreshing to see you
thank
kind
you.
of sharing and encouraging all of us to find these um, forms of expression that is unique and individual and isn't based on anything that is right or is wrong, but just having that moment to yourself to express whatever emotions you're feeling. So I think I just wanted to make note of that as well, because I know that's something you do often. And I think it's so encouraging and just very empowering to all of us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I will just kind of, I guess, give you an opportunity. I know, of course, that you are working on your next series for Embryo. So, just any kind of projects that you have coming up or anything else that you would like to share with us that we can look forward to.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, embryo is really my focal point at this point, of 2018. So I usually try to get the ball rolling on making sure everything is set up by September of the year prior to the next show in March. It's every year in March. My my goal is to have Embryo 8. So the eighth annual installment of the Embryo exhibition series is due to commence March 2nd, 2019. So I'm working on that right now as we speak, um, getting things in order. I'm actually offline, until October, off social media, taking, not active on social media until October, because there is a lot of work,
Hmm.
that needs to be done, in preparation for the exhibition.
And is that kind of usually like a part of your process? Do you kind of like put yourself in lockdown a little bit and
Oh
just kind
yeah,
of create?
yeah. 6 months. The goal every year prior is always 6 months before the show. Um, if I'm being funky with you, right? 100% transparent. I have there's been exhibitions. There's been some embryos where the week of, and I was trying to pull it all
Yes.
together, or 2 weeks of, and but over the years, as the years have progressed, I've made it a point to really commit time, because a lot of the process happens in my head first, and a lot of scribbles and doodles and thumbnail sketches and note taking, and I do a lot of that, and then when it's time to produce, to actually bring something to fruition, it's like, just get it out of me the weeks before the show, and that wasn't healthy.
No.
And as I get older, that's really not healthy. So yeah, yeah, that's generally the goal, though. 3 to 6 months, lock down, pull it together, so that it's something worth coming to in March.
That is fantastic. So I will just finish up. We do a little, it's kind of like a quick flash of three questions that are kind of fun to wrap up the interview. May Rocky picks. So whatever comes to your mind,
Uh-huh.
yeah, so whatever you're free to share. So the first one is always, which is my favorite. What is a restaurant that you wish everyone in the world could go to?
Oh my. Oh man. So so I
Or a few restaurants.
Yeah, right. No, because I'm vegan now, and
Awesome.
I've committed to that lifestyle full time back in January. So the top of this year, I decided to go full time as a vegan, and so my go to places are, oh man. So the top one has to be Hibiscus Cafe in West Philly.
Mm,
They have it's like island vibes, Jamaican food, curry, jerk, that kind of thing. But they have vegan and non-vegan options. A good friend of mine would usually get like salmon wrap, and it looks delicious. But I get they're called the raw wraps. Um, they are full of, so it's wrapped in seaweed, and it's full of
ooh,
kale and like this spicy dressing and avocado, which is my favorite thing on the planet. Um,
yes.
Carrot, I think onion, and some other goodness, and it's delicious.
That
Um,
sounds amazing.
oh, girl, it's the best. Um, and let's see, my mouth is watering. I kind of want it now, actually. Um, and what else? Oh, bar bomb bone. So it's
Mm,
like I think it's completely vegan. It's a vegan restaurant in Center City, Philadelphia. They have like a Mexi style restaurant. So nachos, burritos,
mhm.
Mexican type,
Yeah.
Mexican style entrees, but they're vegan and they're delicious. And I usually get oh my gosh, what do I get? Oh, they have these meatballs, Spanish meatballs. They're
Mm,
they're incredible. They are incredible. They're so good, but their whole menu is awesome. So, Bar Bonbon in Center City, Philadelphia, you will not be sorry. You'll be happy you went. And Hibiscus Cafe in West Philly on, it's just off Baltimore Ave on Catherine Street. So, yeah,
okay.
yeah, that those are my go-to places for sure.
I will add those to my list because you already have me hungry and now
Yeah.
I'm just like
Oh, you'll be so happy.
Um, it's amazing what you can do with like vegetables and plant-based meals. Like people think they're
Yeah.
gonna miss out,
Yeah,
but
it's
you're
not a burden
not.
to be vegan, I promise. It's incredibly fulfilling. And truth be told, there's a lot of fruits and vegetables that I didn't even know existed until I started to, commit to the lifestyle full time. So I'm not lacking anything, it's fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so number two would be what is a song or maybe just like an artist in general that has been stuck in your head lately?
Oh, so I am going to be very exposed right now.
It is
So let me
okay.
just put this out there. I listen to everything from EDM to country to jazz to R&B
Hmm.
to trap to classic hip hop. I listen to it all. But I am so let me just put this out there too. I used to live in Jacksonville, Florida for 6 years. So my southern roots are pretty strong. They're still embedded in me. So growing up in the 90s in Florida, Trick Daddy, Uncle Luke, Shrina, Lil Boosie, Yi Yang Twins, Lil Jon and the East Side Boys, like they were they were oh my goodness. They were our ghosts. They were our mute. That was our music, right? And I loved it. And I am a yeah. I'm gonna say this. I twerking before twerking was a thing was like one of my biggest therapeutic things. And I didn't even know it was therapeutic. Listen, twerking could be a good therapeutic session for me and my homegirls like none other. Okay, we can't get anything else
Yes.
through talking or through pain, or we could twerk the light away and be fine. And it would just be us. We don't need nobody on us. We could just get that out and cool. So Uncle Luke it does it for me from time to time when I need to like uplift my spirits or remind myself of what I'm capable of doing. I can't. Oh God. Okay. Outside of that, what else? I think I just learned of an artist actually recently, not too long ago. Masego, I think that's his name, Masego. Um, yeah, he has a record
Yes, I love
with
him.
gosh, FKJ, I think. Um, he collaborated with him on a track
Hmm.
called Sadao. And I actually did a video and posted it on Instagram like last month or something. Because I could not get that song out of my head. I loved his voice and I dug more into his music. Um, and yeah, so that's in my head. And also another artist, um, a good friend of mine shared his name with me. His name is I think it's Xavier Omar? Xavier Omar, yeah. Blind Man. I think that's one of his popular songs, Blind Man. Oh, so
Yes.
he's so good.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so those are my like that's what's in my head. Those are the vibes I'm on right now. Oh, and Georgia Smith. Georgia Smith.
She is amazing. I want to see her live.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Georgia Smith is definitely in heavy rotation, like on my Spotify account right now. So yeah, Georgia Smith for sure. Xavier Omar, Maze Go. And then when I need it, you know, yeah, I'm gonna leave that alone.
That's awesome. And I love the
That's
diversity
just
there
me.
of like so many different vibes. That's because we're
Thank
not
you.
always in one mood, like you gotta listen to what you're feeling. So the final, and I feel like it's the hardest, but for some people it's not hardest. Question is, do you have like a quote or like a piece of advice that you kind of live by or go back to when you need a boost?
Okay, I've shared this before, and it still holds true because of the kind of work that I do personally. Never lie on stage, and that doesn't necessarily mean on an actual stage performing in front of an audience. Like I mean the stage of life, especially for creatives. It pays to know, to consider the root and why, your why, to understand your why, acknowledge your why, nurture your why, cultivate your why, and then move forward from there. But being honest with yourself first about your why is imperative to the success, I think, of any artist, of anyone, but artists specifically because I am an artist. I make it a point to stay true to myself about, you know, um, where I stand, even today. Taking things one step at a time, being true about where I am mentally before I pursue anything, because it will show. And if you're lying on stage, right, quote unquote stage, the stage of life, I think. the people know, your audience knows, quote unquote, your supporters know, your fans know. I like to call them supporters or family. They know, I think. And, I think it's a dishonor or an insult even
Hmm.
to the people who pay to see, and not even just monetarily pay, but invest time in reading about you. Even the people who choose to listen to this interview that I'm doing with Meraki Mentors, like those people who dig and follow you and support you in that way, I think it's an insult to them if you aren't honest with them, if you aren't sharing your most authentic self with them.
I personally, as well as I know everyone listening, cannot thank you enough for being honest in your work and for sharing with us, and even more so for being honest and sharing with us today, because it means the world, and I'm inspired by you myself. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Shanina Dionna. Here's a quick reminder that this week, October 7th through the 13th, is Mental Illness Awareness Week, and there's something that all of us at Meraki Mentors want you to know. There's a virus spreading across America. It harms the 1 in 5 Americans affected by mental health conditions. It shames them into silence, prevents them from seeking help, and in some cases, takes lives. What virus am I talking about? Stigma. Stigma against people with mental health conditions. But there's good news. Stigma is 100% curable. Compassion, empathy, and understanding are the antidote. Your voice can spread the cure. Join us and the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and together we can cure the stigma. For resources on mental health and stigma, visit nami.org or curestigma.org. And be sure to visit our website, MerakiMentorsPodcast.com, for an exclusive blog post on mental health, complete with facts, resources, and mythbusters to help you in the fight to cure the stigma. While you're at it, don't forget to rate or review us on iTunes, Stitcher, Facebook, or your favorite podcast app. Thanks so much for listening.
You've been listening to Meraki Mentors Podcast with Candace Howes. We're honored you chose to spend your time with us today. To learn more about today's guest or the podcast, visit MerakiMentorsPodcast.com.
Don't forget to create and connect.